This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines, plus those that make you go,
Good morning. Welcome on to the Morning Majlis. It is Thursday Vibes here in the studios, as we will be keeping you posted throughout this morning and keeping you updated with what's happening. We've got confirmation that next week we do have a public holiday, almost, sort of, because the Federal Authority for Human Resources has declared it a day off for federal workers so far, and we're pretty sure the other departments will follow suit to make it a long weekend for the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So we're going to be excited for this weekend, and we're going to get even more excited for the weekend after. But something that we're going to be excited about talking about today is, Ahmed Dawood, lots to discuss in terms of global politics and also when it comes to COVID-19 vaccines.
Yes, indeed, Abdul Karim. A lot has been happening here as well. The AstraZeneca clinical trials, they've had a bit of a situation because a volunteer died in Brazil. And we're going to talk about what this means exactly, whether the clinical trials are set to continue or not, and what it means to be a participant in a clinical trial in the first place, because we've heard similar concerning stories about the Pfizer Oxford University trials as well. So we're going to be talking about that later on in today's program. We're also going to head over to Africa to discuss a situation that's been going on for quite some time now, the hashtag #EndSARS protests. What are they all about? This is a very important story because things have escalated to a pretty absurd level. There are guns being fired. There are people dying as well, civilians. So we're going to talk about what exactly is happening in Nigeria, why the unrest, why the protests, and how has the international community responded so far.
Yep, of course. And we just heard Emmanuel Majali talking about the new cases in Oman. So Oman is now planning to end its night curfew on Saturday. What's happening? Why are they doing that? Is it a good thing? Is the public happy about it? We'll tell you all about it. So stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be right back after some short musical interval.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Well, we go over to the United States. We're following the U.S. presidential elections with 13 days to go to Election Day, and also the fact that the big debate is taking place tonight. So here are the surrounding stories. President or former President Barack Obama has been on the campaign trail advocating for his former Vice President Joe Biden, who's currently the Democratic challenger to the U.S. presidency. And Obama had some pretty harsh words to say for Donald Trump. The current president called him quote, a crazy uncle, and said that he encourages racism. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, U.S. President Donald Trump was in a rally and he mocked Barack Obama for being wrong about the outcome of the 2016 presidential election.
Yeah, well, with 13 days to go until this election, Biden holds a solid lead nationally so far. But the margin is slimmer in the handful of U.S. states that could go either way and ultimately decide the outcome on November 3rd. But Americans are voting early at a record pace this year, with 42 million having already cast ballots both by post and in person. But Trump had a lot to say about this.
Yes, he has been, and he's going to be very vocal indeed. And this is something that we're looking forward to today, is the third presidential debate. He said the choice for voters was between Trump's super recovery or a Biden steep depression. Joe Biden has been off the campaign trail all week preparing for the final presidential debate tonight in Tennessee, while Mr. Trump is now going into the battleground states. The president could not resist taking a pop at Barack Obama, also, who hit the campaign trail in person, and saying there was nobody that campaigned harder for crooked Hillary Clinton than Obama, right? as Donald Trump said. He said he was all over the place. The president added that I think the only one more unhappy than crooked Hillary that night was Barack. Hussein Obama. So very, very powerful words being used by Donald Trump over here, but very interesting to see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And President Trump had a lot of words to say about Obama's relationship with Biden as well. Biden, what he said was that Obama pretty much told Biden to step aside for the 2016 presidential campaign, believing Hillary to have better chances at winning that election back in 2016. And Trump had a lot to say about that, citing that Obama's never been that enthusiastic about Biden, and that last year Obama himself said that there was a need for new blood in the Democratic leadership, which was widely seen as a nod or something against Joe Biden as well. Obama himself had some things to say about Donald Trump as well. He said if Biden won, quote, "we're not going to have a president who goes out of his way to insult anybody who doesn't support him or threaten them with jail. That's not normal presidential behavior." He said, speaking of the way that Trump has been talking, he said, "Why are folks making excuses for that? Oh, well, that's just him." No, it's not. There are consequences to these actions. He said they embolden other people to be cruel and divisive and phrase the fabric of our society.
Look, again, using big words, it phrased the fabric of our society, and using these big words as well to get the people together. But Trump has been so vocal with his simple terms and being out there and using mean terms as well, and really appealing to the general masses in the United States. It's going to be very interesting to see how we are getting ready for the presidential debate. I'm very excited to see that, to be honest. I'm going to stay up all night.
I'm going to watch it.
To watch it, because we usually have a best of three for presidential debates. Sadly, the second one got cancelled because of Trump's COVID-19 situation. The first one was a lot of interruption. This one is going to have mics muted.
Muted, yeah.
And
it's going to be on Friday?
Friday morning for us, Thursday night for America, or the United States of America.
Yeah.
And literally, it is. A lot of people say it's going to be bloodbath, but of course, there's no violence involved in a presidential debate apart from harsh words. But it's going to be something that we should all be hyped up about.
Definitely, and it's a lot closer than what people think. I mean, the polls peg Joe Biden as the winner, potential winner in their projections. But in the key battleground states, they are still neck and neck. Trump is also facing a financial challenge, believe it or not. So despite starting the election with a larger cash advantage, he's reportedly being outspent by Biden on TV ads in 6 key states. They're seeing a lot of Biden over there. The United States is also going through a horrible time with the COVID-19 pandemic. That's set to be a major talking point during the debates, but certainly will shape the momentum of the election going forward, the presidential debate that will take place tonight.
Look, the biggest battleground is going to be Florida.
Oh, yes.
At the moment.
Always has been.
Always has been. And this time around, we're going to see
state.
It is one of the biggest swing states.
Yeah.
And it's quite weighted as well. A lot of Latino voters as well. And that's where the battleground is. And the Hispanic vote is something that they're going to be looking at in greater detail.
Yeah.
Now, the big thing here at the moment is Barack Obama has got his plans sorted. He's going to be going to Miami, and he's going to be going to Orlando as well for this weekend. So it really goes to show how important and how these candidates value this territory. Very interesting to see what's going to happen next. But for all of you, just a bit of a refresher. He'll be wondering, okay, so what's really happening with the U.S. elections? Election date is the 3rd of November. Thousands have opted to vote via post.
Yeah.
So that is going to delay the actual collection of votes, as opposed to going to the polling stations where they calculate the votes immediately. It's going to take some time. Think about it this way. Do you know how long it takes for the Emirates ID to reach our homes or our post office? Well, post test takes a while. It's back in the days. But so we might not have the election results on the 3rd of November or the 4th of November or 5th of November we normally do. It might be delayed by a couple of days. Then there is going to be an election for the electors. They'll start voting in mid-December. And then we will hear the results as well of who is going to be the president. And January, we will see the president being inaugurated. So if Donald Trump were to lose the election, it doesn't mean that he's going to leave the office straight away. He's going to be there till January. And then January, we have the new president after he's been, let's say, studied or going through training program at Camp David. Remember Camp David? That's the most important part where the grilling happens.
Oh, yeah.
Well, after that, it's going to be the new president or the continuation of Donald Trump. We're on this little bit of a seesaw moment, and it'll be very, very important to see what happens. But America's going to be out there voting again. Stay tuned to Pulse 95, and to put you in happier moods, let's be crazy in love. How about that?
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, and what we have is a response from the AstraZeneca. The University of Oxford has said it will continue its COVID-19 vaccine trial in Brazil despite the death of a volunteer. Now, usual protocol is that you sort of halt the trials, you halt the process, especially after a patient or a volunteer had fallen ill in the United Kingdom. But this time we're in the Brazilian territory, and they think it's okay to continue.
Yeah, that's what AstraZeneca said. They pretty much quickly said that the trial is going to go on. It's going to continue. And the fact that they swiftly put out the statement and very quickly did it after the reports emerged is showing that perhaps the death is not linked to the vaccine. And they did state that they were notified of the death, the Brazilian Health Agency. They said they were notified on Monday, but the International Evaluation and Security Committee overseeing the trial recommended the trial continue. It wasn't clear whether the volunteer received the vaccine or a placebo shot as part of the trial, and the health authority said no more information was being released for reasons of medical privacy.
Yeah, in an emailed statement on Wednesday, Oxford University said that all significant medical incidents, whether participants are in the control group or the COVID-19 vaccine group, are independently reviewed. Now, following careful assessment of this case in Brazil, there have been no concerns about safety of the clinical trial, and the independent review, in addition to the Brazilian regulator, have recommended that the trial should continue. So far, the Dior Institute, which is administering the clinical trial in Rio, said 8,000 volunteers had received either the vaccine or a placebo in the trial. Also, the institute said the rigorous analysis of data collected up till now did not raise any doubts about the safety of the study, and thus recommended that it shall continue.
Yep, of course. And AstraZeneca is one of the 4 drug makers that is backed by the United States in the late-stage testing for a potential vaccine. And this vaccine, called AZD1222, uses genetic material from the coronavirus with a modified adenovirus. The company had published data that showed its vaccines produced a promising immune response in an early-stage trial and appeared to be well tolerated. It produced no serious or adverse events in volunteers, according to the researchers at the time. Fatigue and headache were the most commonly reported side effects. Other common side effects included pain at the injection site, muscle ache, chills, and a fever. So at the moment, we are going into the late-stage trials, and none of the COVID-19 vaccine have cleared the final stage yet.
Yeah, none of them have cleared the final stages yet. And looking at what Brazil is doing in particular, following reports that they'll be buying the Chinese Sinovac vaccine, Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro said the government would in fact not do it. Brazil itself is going through the second deadliest outbreak in the entire world after the United States. It's got more than 154,000 deaths. It has the 3rd largest number of cases, with more than 5.2 million people infected after the United States and India. So the situation in Brazil is dire overall, but it makes it a good testing place for clinical trials because they need a large number of COVID-19 cases, which is why they do these tests abroad.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the share price as
Yeah,
well.
it went
1.8%.
turned negative
Yeah.
because of that death.
Yes, 1.8% was a drop in the prices of share prices of AstraZeneca after the reports emerged of a volunteer sadly losing their life, and it will be very interesting to see where we go. But the downward slide had been continuing since the 20th of October, in fact, or 19th of October, rather, because as the momentum has been shifting in terms of getting the vaccine out in time. But we shall keep you posted about what's happening across the globe. Lots of countries continuing their trials. But up next, we'll be talking about Kingdom of Saudi Arabia becoming a global leader in the world of AI. What's happening? All this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Yes, you can join the conversation. Text us in at 4215. We're talking about Saudi Arabia and how it has set out a plan to become a global leader in artificial intelligence by the year of 2030, in line with its 2030 vision. Now, the Saudi National Strategy for Data and AI unveiled yesterday at the Global AI Summit in Riyadh that it intends to put AI at the heart of the country's development and growth. Now, the Saudi Data and AI Authority will oversee the NSDAI. Under the strategy, Saudi Arabia will implement a multi-phase, multifaceted plan that includes skills, policy and regulation, investment, research and innovation, and also ecosystem development. Of course, Saudi Arabia luckily has a strong foundation for its AI ambitions. The kingdom has a young population to start with and a desire for large-scale transformative programs such as Vision 2030. Upcoming Saudi mega projects including NEOM Smart City, also Al Qadiyah Entertainment and Leisure Capital that is coming up, and also National Industrial Development and Logistics Program. They'll all provide test beds and living laboratories for AI and also data-driven concepts and applications.
Yeah, and this is happening in the backdrop of the Global AI Summit, which is having its first edition and explores artificial intelligence's role in the new global era and its transformative potential for governments, particularly Saudi Arabia's, which has massive ambitions as far as AI and data science are concerned. They aim to train 20,000 specialists and experts, have 300 active startups, and attract $20 billion in national and foreign investment in data and AI. And according to Abdullah bin Sharaf al-Ghamdi, president of the Saudi Data and AI Authority, quote, Saudi Arabia wants to set the best example globally in using AI for the development of a nation. The strategy aims to make Saudi Arabia the place where the best of data and AI is made reality. It sets the foundation and direction where we will unlock the potential of data and AI to fulfill our national transformation priorities and establish Saudi Arabia as a global hub for data and AI.
$20 billion aid to lead the world in artificial intelligence. And Saudi Arabia's AI ambitions or even focus in the tech sector could be visible last year itself. Last year we had the GITEX event. Saudi Arabia had the biggest pavilion. Arabian travel market. Saudi Arabia had the biggest pavilion, showcasing technology, a massive focus on everything aesthetically pleasing as well. And what they're saying is, among the aim is accelerating AI for sustainable development in less wealthy countries, so no one is left behind. And the director of Saudi Arabia's National Information Center said the agreement would forge partnerships to speed up AI development in less fortunate African countries in particular. And there has been a focus on the African continent based on the common intentions of the strategic partnership. This also aims to aid developing countries and help them create innovative solutions to their economic and social challenges. And before the summit concludes today, global AI agreements and partnerships will be signed, and the winners of the AI Artathon, in fact, a competition, and NEOM Challenge will also be announced.
Yeah, and with this plan that they have laid out from 2025 until 2030, Saudi Arabia will shift its focus to establishing the foundations of a competitive international AI ecosystem. How is that? Well, by developing specialisms in for example, specific areas of AI to become one of the leading AI and data-driven economies by 2030. So in the initial stage, the strategy will focus on initiatives to accelerate the use of AI in 5 critical sectors, those being healthcare, mobility, education, government, and energy. But my favorite part about this all is the use of AI to support economic and social development around the world, not just in the kingdom. And that's like my favorite part about their aspirations in playing this active role in global dialogue on the use of AI.
Yeah, pretty big aspirations for Saudi Arabia. Began its tech transformation in 2019 and 2020, ramped it up significantly. And they have, for instance, launched the NEOM project, the $500 billion planned mega city as well. And some of the challenges they faced prior to this is the fact that Saudi Arabia is such a huge country. And they had a lot of pre-existing institutions and norms associated with data access and availability that they had to work around. But they've looked at the neighboring UAE, for instance, which had been at the forefront of AI acceleration and embracing the digital even as early as 2016, and have pretty much adopted a similar line of thinking. So many tech startups have been flocking to the country, and we're expected to see a pretty significant rise in the financial tech sector and AI and data science sectors in Saudi Arabia. And its efforts will continue to accelerate and pick up. And we might even be seeing more startups go to that country and set up their headquarters there as well.
Yeah, and they're planning on special economic zones to attract that investment and have those free zones for these tech companies to establish themselves. Tech has been a key area of focus for a number of countries, even for Pulse 95. We've got a tech show, dedicated tech show that airs at 2 p.m. Future Talk. And we are going to be now preparing for the world of sports headlines, and we shall return right after that. So stay tuned to Pulse 95. Lots of quiz questions will be coming your way as well to keep you energized. If you'd like to get involved, you can do so on the text lines 4215 for you to have your say. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95, and a very warm welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. Let's brew ourselves and pour ourselves a nice cup of coffee as we discuss the developments over in South Asia. Pakistan, economically, there's been a little bit of a question mark because a lot of demonstrations have been taking place at the moment against the Imran Khan government for the inflation levels and how things have been changing. However, the government has reported a little bit of a surplus, something that we haven't seen in a number of years.
Well, yeah, it's said that it is the worst. Pakistan is going through its worst political crisis since Imran Khan took over 2 years ago. But Prime Minister Imran Khan actually yesterday said Pakistan was headed in the right direction finally, as the country's current account witnessed a record surplus of $792 million in the first quarter of the current fiscal year. And that is according to data released by the State Bank of Pakistan and what it showed. Now, the surplus came on the back of an upward trend in remittances and also month-on-month increase in exports during the month of September. Current account surplus in the month of September clocked in at $73 million. That's down 65% from $211 million in August, mainly on account of the widening trade deficit during the month under review.
Yeah, and the tweet from Prime Minister Imran Khan states, quote, "Great news for Pakistan. We are finally heading in the right direction. Current account was in surplus of $73 million during September, bringing the first quarter surplus to $792 million. This is compared to a deficit of $1.49 billion during the same time last year." And the Prime Minister, Imran Khan, noted that exports had grown 29%, while remittances grew 9% over the previous month.
Yeah, the State Bank of Pakistan has said the current account posted a surplus for a third consecutive month in a row, and the surplus has reached $73 million in September. And the month-on-month decrease in the current account surplus came as a result of the 8% increase in the trade deficit in September, as per the figure from the central bank. Pakistan's trade deficit in September rose to $1.82 billion compared to $1.727 billion in August on account of 62% and 21% jump in food and machinery imports. Balance of trade in goods deteriorated by $140 million, up 8% month on month on the back of increase in imports of goods by $581 million, or 18% month on month, whereas exports of goods improved by $441 million, up 29% from August, according to the chief economist speaking to local media. And it is incredible to see in terms of economic numbers how the progress has been. And really just goes to shed light on whether the political crisis that they're describing as is a valid argument of the opposition.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's how it's going on right now, is this growing opposition movement. And yes, Pakistan is moving in the right direction based on the story. It is still facing an economic crisis. It is a difficult time. Inflation's been touching double digits, and negative growth as well. And some citizens taking to these rallies have expressed great displeasure with the economic situation and putting the blame on the current government. But they also have other grievances, and to get into all of that would be very complicated.
Definitely, and it'll be very interesting to see what will happen at the moment. And in terms of as the government has now been asking the United Kingdom to deport former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and ask him to enter the country. And once he does, should Nawaz Sharif return, and the change in public sentiment, that's also going to be something very interesting to see. And it is a very tricky time. It is tricky times for South Asia in general, with the rise in COVID-19 cases and a little bit of uncertainty as well across the globe with how markets are reacting. So it'll be very interesting to see how things do progress. For the time being, there's only one way we could progress, is giving our voices a bit of a break and giving you some more musical entertainment here on Pulse 95. And we shall return right after the 9 a.m. news headlines to continue the discussions here on the Morning Majlis. If you'd like to have your say on the matter, text us on 4215.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.